Hello again, VC, or anyone who finds themselves watching this video. Thanks for all the kind and constructive comments on my 10 krautrock albums you must hear before you die video. I'm amazed the wealth of knowledge in the VC, and it's good to be back when you're welcome back. It's been approximately 8 or 9 months since I did anything on my channel, but you know what that means? That means I have amassed a decent stack of records, and it's about time I did a collection update. So that's what this video is. I have a couple of piles actually, so I think I'll split it up in 2 videos. This will be a bit of German, of course, krautrock releases, and a couple of odds and ends, and stay for the grails at the end. First off, a recent reissue of the debut album, that's not quite correct, but the debut album under the name Creepy John Thomas. Creepy John Thomas was an Australian guitar player, rooted deeply in the blues. He moved to Germany, actually, and started a band called Rust, which recorded... let's start with this one. The band recorded this album, Come With Me. I've shown this before, but this is a recent reissue on the Long Hair label. Excellent, well-sounding issue. I just had an unofficial reissue of this from before, so a nice deluxe reissue of Rust, Come With Me, with Creepy John Thomas. After this band split, he recorded another album in 1969 called simply Creepy John Thomas, and this is the Long Hair reissue from this year or last year, I think. Excellent sound quality. This is more of a psychedelic affair, late era psychedelic music, and this is more hard rock blues with psych tinges. Both excellent albums. Also be sure to check out the second and last Creepy John Thomas album, Brother Batbone. Excellent stuff, and as I mentioned many times before, that Long Hair label, they do magnificent reissues, and they have branched out, and they're not only doing kraut releases anymore, but English psych and other things as well. Awesome quality. Next up, an obscure German band from the early 70s, Think, and their only album Variety. A blend of it's prog, of course, or krautrock, with some jazz rock elements. Anyway, fantastic album. This is the Little Wing of a Refugee reissue with alternative cover. Quite not expensive, what's quite cheap to find. The originals are very expensive. Long Hair have done a reissue of this as well, quite recently, with the original cover, so why didn't I wait for that? Well, you know, got to have it now. An excellent band which I love, Birth Control. This is their first self-titled album, and as you can see on the cover art, Birth Control pills. They were known for controversial covers, but the music is straight up hard prog rock from Germany. This one is from 70 or 71, so quite early in the krautrock scene. Excellent album. They do a couple of covers, Light My Fire, which I can live without, but the original numbers are awesome, so do check Birth Control's first album out. This is a nice reissue on Metronome from around 2010 in the original pill cover. Well, you can see. Awesome reissue. To find an original in good condition, well, for a decent price, that's out of the question. I've known about these for years but never found them, but this is a recent reissue of the Cosmic Jokers, and this is I believe the first one out in the series. Yes, this is actually Ashra Temple for the most part. Klaus Schulze, Manuel Götzing is on here, and a couple of others. Jürgen Dolas from what's their name? Wallenstein, and of course Dieter Dirks, the famous German producer. Cosmic rock at its finest. So if you like Ashra Temple, you will love Cosmic Jokers. Sadly, I haven't found a copy of Galactic Supermarket yet, but I found the third one in the series called Planeten Sit-In Cosmic Jokers. Same personal, same jam session, and the story goes that these were recordings which weren't meant to be released, but I don't know if that's a myth. Certainly holds a high quality, and if you like space rock, this is certainly something you should give a listen. So, quite cheap reissues there. Oh, another excellent reissue by Longhair. And I'm not sure if I want to take it out of the cover, but this is Eulenspiegel's second or third album. Their first album was called Two or Zwei, and this is their second album as Eulenspiegel, but they were called Royal Servants originally and released one album under that name, but then changed their name to Eulenspiegel. And that's why the first Eulenspiegel album is called Two, and this is the third album. Ausschuss is the name of the German version, but this is the English version called Trash. And Longhair has done a nice reissue, releasing it in the original cardboard sleeve. Gatefold, of course, I won't take it out, it's pretty fragile. But this is the rare English version called Trash, which only was released in a very limited run on 8-track cartridge back in the day. So this is the first time it has got its vinyl release. But they have also reissued the German version, which is available now. But I think these are limited because of the cardboard cover. Excellent, hard, accomplished prog rock from Germany. Superb. I just bought this. I think it's a record store reissue or something. Fairly recent reissue on clear vinyl. It's Tangerine Dream's second album, Alpha Centauri. Didn't need it since I have a second press on Ore Records, but I just had to have it because they have released it with Ultima Thule, their first single, which isn't on any album. So just for that reason I had to have it. To find an original single of the track Ultima Thule part 1 and 2 will cost you quite a bit. So this remastered reissue from the original master tapes is a welcome addition, and you all know Tangerine Dream, I believe. Next up, a bootleg or unofficial reissue, not high quality, but I opted for this because it turned up for quite cheap. It's Epitaph's first album, simply self-titled. Nice hard bluesy prog rock on a Polydor label. The originals aren't too expensive, a bit pricey, but I haven't seen the originals here in Norway yet, so I opted for this as a placeholder until I can find a nicely conditioned original. But this album and their next is solid prog rock, but their third, which I can't remember the title of, it's sort of mediocre, I think. But this one, that's a keeper. This is a nice one. This is an avant-garde title. Sounds like nothing else. This is Brave New World and their only album, Impressions on Reading Aldous Huxley. Well, it's defined as krautrock or prog rock, certainly experimental and very unique sounding. I urge you to go on YouTube and listen to this all the way through. It's a nice journey. What can I say? I don't know how to describe the music. There are horns, there are traditional rock instruments, and they manipulate the tape speed just far out. Cosmic, progressive, avant-garde, everything you love in a krautrock record. So Brave New World, Impressions on Reading Aldous Huxley. This is also an unofficial reissue. You take what you can get. This is very expensive to find an original, so I don't see that happening anytime soon. But one day, man, one day. Okay, the last of the reissues. This is a nice, a late one actually, but it's considered a krautrock album. Many of you don't think folk rock is krautrock, but remember, the krautrock era is a cultural phenomenon, a time period, if you wish. It's not a certain genre, even though some releases may be characterized as typical krautrock, while others are more folk rock or prog rock, but the common term is krautrock. But this is more on the folky, although also a bit on the cosmic side, Carol of Harvest. It's a late release. It was released as late as 1978, but it sounds like it was recorded in the early to mid 70s. So a nice one. I urge you to go and listen to this. It's a nice, fairly recent reissue on Elias Records from 2018. Excellent. And now on to the originals. I have bought a couple of original German progressive records. First off is Mrs. Beastly and their first album, NASA Ast Incense. This is actually the second issue of their first self-titled album from the same year. The first issue came on a very small private label, not many hundreds were pressed, and the same year I think it was their manager or someone in their crew who brought the master tapes to Up Worldwide, the record label, which also released Hairy Chapter's first album, and released it as Nara Ast Incense. A little bit of different track listing, but the same recording. But this was unauthorized by the band, so it's semi-legit. It's released on a legit record company, but I don't think everyone involved said yeah to the release. So, but it's certainly a cheaper way to get Mrs. Beastly's first album. And Mrs. Beastly It's a strange blend of blues, psychedelia, progressive rock and jazz rock, and the jazz rock side became more and more evident as they evolved and released more records. I'm not too keen on later Mrs. Beastly records, but this first one is raw sounding. Excellent stuff. One I have been wanting for a long time, and finally I managed to snag a decent copy. Well, the record is VG+, the cover is perhaps VG. Shit. But it's rare to find the cover in better shape, especially this version. Gomorrah's second album, I turned to see whose voice it was, from 1972. This is a fantastic album. It should have been included in the 10 krautrock albums you must hear before you die, but hey, only 10 records. Of course I had to ignore many of the great titles. Perhaps I'll make another list in a couple of months which is totally different, but this is awesome, heavy, progressive, melodic, atmospheric, very accomplished German progressive krautrock. Fantastic album. There are two versions of this. The first pressing or first issue has this unlaminated cover matte, which is prone to ring wear, and there's a second issue which is laminated but much harder to find. On the original Brain Metronome label. So fantastic album. You should definitely go and check Gomorrah out as well, even though they weren't in my last top 10 video. Yes, the last one I actually showed in my 10 krautrock records you must hear before you die. Also a long time want, My Solid Ground. This record is actually all over the place. It's some short rockers and one long atmospheric typical krautrock track. Dirty Yellow Mist, the opener, is by far my favorite, but also the Executioner, which opens side 2. Fantastic. The whole album is solid all the way through, but those two tracks, the Executioner and especially Dirty Yellow Mist, you have to hear those. They were a one and done album band, and Ingo Werner, who plays the keyboards on this, started a band called Baba Yaga, which also released 1 or 2 albums in 1972, I believe, which are also highly sought after. This is on the Bacillus label, which was an independent record label, and I think they released about 9 or 10 LPs titles before they went bankrupt, and Bellaphon Records took over in 1972. So it must be on the white Bacillus label if it's an original Bacillus. And thanks to Baloo for taking such good care of this record. That's the only negative thing about this one. Written Baloo with a Sharpie on the label, but well, the record is pristine. So that's the German update for you. German, starting off with a bit of Australian and British, German, psych and blues rock, but the rest was strictly German, I think. Going on about 20 minutes, so I think that's it for now, and the next update will be everything from Swiss heavy, hard and heavy prog to Japanese avant-garde. So stay tuned for the next update video. And there's the lens. If I watch myself there, it doesn't look like I'm watching into the camera, but there's the lens. It's almost impossible to see, but yes. Thanks for watching, and thanks for all the kind comments. I really appreciate them all. Bye for now.